It is the top job in tourism, and I'm joined now by someone who hopes he will be the next man to secure it. Alain St Ange is the former Minister for Tourism of the Seychelles, and now he's in the running to become the Secretary-General of the United Nations World Tourism Organization. It's a role that will involve the challenge of combating the effects of climate change and improving ocean quality, a campaign, of course, which Sky is backing. Welcome to you indeed. I have to say, I didn't know there was the United Nations World Tourism Organization. What does it actually do?
Well, it's the body that brings together the ministers of tourism from around the world. I think Taleb Rifai, the outgoing Secretary General, has done a lot to put tourism on the table. But now, with the new challenges facing the world at large, climate change, security, all these points have to be taken by the next person, which is why we need to raise the visibility of the UNWTO and ensure that the world understands. If you don't know about this body, we're in trouble.
Yeah. Who are you in competition with for this?
Well, there are 5 candidates officially that have put their names: Georgia, Korea, Brazil, Zimbabwe, and the Seychelles.
Probably the Seychelles, of those, is the one that, when people think of tourism in terms of holidays, would top that list. Is the biggest threat to tourism, in your experience, is it now environmental issues?
I think environment plays a big part, and security. The safety label of countries need to be resolved. We cannot, when there's an explosion somewhere in the world, it affects the world of tourism. It's the first one always affected. And we need now to work with the ministers of internal affairs, with the press has a big part to play, and the ministers of tourism, so that together in a tripartite approach, work public-private sector partnership, and move the world forward.
I mean, what can you do about it? Because tourism, by definition, is freedom of movement. People don't want to spend hours and hours at the airport having all their bags searched, or indeed, they don't necessarily want to see heavy police presence when they're on holiday. So what can you do about security?
I think we need to ensure that what has been happening in some key cities that are already source markets for tourism and destinations in themselves, we need to learn from that. Often, unfortunately, the press plays also a big part in the person who wants to have an explosion becomes a star the next day. So we need to find a way for the right of information versus the right of life or the right of economic survival of different countries. I think the UNWTO today must be the rallying power with all the countries. But for them to do that, they need to bring all the countries on board. The United Kingdom is not part of it. The USA of America is not part of it. Singapore or Australia.
Probably because they don't want to pay in, I suspect.
Well, I think there is more to that. They spend as much, but it is to sit around the corner, because there's one tourism industry. We don't have two. There is one, and everybody needs to sit and discuss together.
Let's talk about the environmental things, which of course very much affect your home, the Seychelles. I mean, some of these places won't be there in a few years, is that right, because of rising oceans?
Totally. I mean, we are affected by climate change. When there is often you say the source markets of tourism, when you sneeze, we get asthma. But it is the same thing. When things happen in the world, these small island states battle for survival, because we have sea level rise, we have changes in water temperature, which causes coral bleaching. And then you find the reefs are dying. That causes problems with the fish. That is the survival of these islanders. And we need to work together to mitigate it and to try and get it better. COP20 and 22 have made a significant step forward. But it's not enough. We now need to look at it and really work together as the world community.
What about the question of plastics, which, as you probably know, Sky Ocean Rescue has a campaign on? I mean, even in remote, idyllic islands like the Seychelles, plastics are washing up on the shore.
You'll be happy, sir, to know that from the 1st of January this year, Seychelles banned plastic bags completely. We don't import them at all, and we ban it completely.
Bottles?
Well, bottles is still there, but there is the recycle program. So you have to pay to get the bottle, and then you give it back and you get your money back. I think we've done the first step. But coming from the ocean, it is not Seychelles dropping it. It's the world that drops it, passing ships and so on. We need to work again to get the world to be alerted that it is an issue. Recently, I saw on a beach somewhere a whale that was picked up dead or was put to death because it was suffering, and full of plastic bags inside its stomach. This is unacceptable in this day and age, and we need to be using recycled material that disintegrates and stop having material was made for duration.
Is this something that if you were elected, you'd put on high on the agenda?
It is important, Mr. Bolton, that we the community today is seen as good custodians of what we have been blessed with. We cannot destroy what we have and then say we want tourism to come and see the things that we are destroying.
Thank you very much indeed. When do we get the result of who's been elected?
11th of May.
Okay, we'll look out for that. Thank you very much indeed, Mr. St Ange, for joining us.